An ever-increasing incidence of piracy, drug smuggling and stowaways has hit the international press in recent times.
Thank you. A cross-reference to...
Governments, as well as international organisations concerned with the safety of merchant shipping, are urgently turning their attention to finding the right and effective security measures at sea.
13.4 to 13.7.
Shipowner organisations, independent security experts and specialist security firms now provide guidance and training in protective action at sea to try to reduce the threat against the safety of merchant seamen, as well as the losses incurred by shipping companies.
Talking about that form of approach, we're going to have warning about that approach, and the only way we're doing it to do that is I think, by technical means.
I think it has to be, because I say, once he gets on board, it's too late, isn't it?
Illegal boarding of ships by pirates and thieves now occurs more frequently in African and South American ports and at anchor, whilst the boarding of ships underway increasingly takes place in the area of Singapore and Malaysian Straits and the South China Seas. Stowaways increasingly appear now in African and European waters. The new hazards which concern merchant shipping on certain commercial routes are piracy, armed robbery, theft, drugs trafficking, stowaways and terrorist attacks. Sometimes one crime leads to another, such as stowaways, who buy their passage illegally from a member of the crew, then engage in theft. Because all of these attacks involve illegal access to the ship, it follows that the basis for any protective action is the control of access to the vessel in a variety of ways. Merchant shipping is not in the business of combat, and the protective measures which it is possible to implement on board ship cannot be the answer to these hazards. But effective measures can still be taken by both the shipping company and the master of each ship to reduce the risk of being attacked. One measure alone may not work effectively, but onion layers of several techniques can be used as a deterrent.
Dealt with in a lax manner. They come on and they wander around the ship.
Companies can help themselves by scheduling ships to enter or leave port in hazardous areas during daylight hours. They can also restrict the flow of routing schedules, keeping the knowledge of actual destination to a limited number of people, depriving the thief and pirate of useful information.
Meine Herren, wir haben schon wieder eine Meldung bekommen.
On-board safety and security, on the other hand, is the responsibility of the master of each ship. He knows his vessel and he knows the equipment at his disposal. He also knows the limitations of each protective measure that can be taken on board against illegal attacks. He may do it himself, or he may appoint an officer to take responsibility for devising a protective plan suited to the ship and the size of the crew. In fact, in the case of passenger ships, it is mandatory to have a security plan and a search plan available at all times.
Piracy, stowaways, drugs, terrorism. Piracy is a worldwide problem, mainly around Indonesia, the West African coast and the east coast of South America. Stowaways is worldwide, literally. A growing incidence of it on the West African coast and indeed in the Mediterranean countries now as a result of the internal conflicts in various countries. Drugs, there are no countries in the world that are free of drugs now. By drugs I mean illegal drugs, cannabis, heroin, cocaine, etc. And finally, terrorism. Terrorism in this sector of the maritime industry can be confused with piracy. It is more a problem concerned with possibly the cruise industry in the long term. But those are the four subjects. That is the security that I mean. How can you help out with the security of the ship? The ship security plan.
The main aims of any protective plan must include the earliest possible identification of any suspicious persons or craft who may threaten the ship, with immediate countermeasures designed to inform the attackers that they have been spotted, to prevent unauthorised people gaining access to the ship, to ensure that if they do gain access, the chance of stealing cargo, stores or equipment, or hiding drugs or people on board is reduced to a minimum. Active resistance can make things worse. And to do everything possible to safeguard the crew and the ship. That requires everybody's attention, their eyes and ears, working together to ensure that the measures work effectively.
We'll give you a more detailed brief.
Sir, do we still use armbands on stevedores to mark them?
We still do need to identify our stevedores, of course, to prevent them remaining on board after the working day is finished. This, of course, is the old stevedore armband. The problem with this one is that the recipient can then come on board and then take it off his arm, drop it over the side to someone else while he goes away and hides and becomes a stowaway, and it can go on and on. A far better alternative is to use one of these non-removable tags, and there are thousands of these available on the market. Each one is individually numbered. The numbers are recorded at the gangway and they can be worn on the wrist or indeed on the ankle. Once they are put together, then it is impossible to get them off without cutting them off.
There are a number of effective measures that can be taken, and the most suitable package of measures should be included in each ship's protection plan.
Right, this is the most important access point on the ship, the gangway. Whoever is stationed here must make sure he understands his job.
Some of these simply require organisation and planning. Others, the purchase and fitting of specialist equipment. They all need strict implementation and regular review. In addition to controlling access to the ship, the primary objective, other routine measures often make the task of the thieves and pirates more difficult. Each type of ship will be vulnerable in different ways. Ships with low freeboard, for instance, will be more accessible to illegal boarding at sea than ones with high freeboard. So the variety of protective measures which can be implemented on board ship will be matched to the ship's vulnerability by the master. A thorough survey must be carried out to check all the vulnerable points of the ship, and the possible defensive measures which may be applied at each point must be included in the ship's protective plan.
A blocked off area here, then along behind you, along the rail there, we'll loop it round all the way along to prevent anyone coming over. They'll have to cross the cargo. Okay? Start there.
In addition to physical preventive measures, the master can organise regular, directed searches of the ship to be carried out in a systematic way. These searches are equally effective against stowaways as well as illegally transported drugs. They should be carried out every time prior to leaving port. A ship is a large and complex structure with ample opportunities for hiding people as well as objects. Sometimes an act of acute observation for the abnormal is more effective than hours of meticulous searching in tracking down illegal goods or stowaways. If stowaways are found, it is advisable to listen to their stories to gauge their state of mind and the severity of their reasons for being there. This has a bearing on the way they may be treated by the shoreside authorities when the ship eventually reaches port. This could be a costly affair for the ship. In any event, stowaways should be kept secure to prevent them committing further crimes. They should be treated with a degree of severity which is compatible with humane standards. Meanwhile, the ship should contact the next port and the agent with as much information as possible.
Stay here, complete the search. Follow me. Now then, my friend, can you tell me your name? What is your name?
Yeah.
Tell me again, what is your name? Your name is?
Freddy.
Freddy?
Yeah.
Freddy is your name?
Yeah.
Freddy what?
Freddy Sham.
Freddy Sham?
Yeah.
The officers and crew may be asked to adopt and practice some new emergency procedures specifically devised to repel piracy attacks at sea. This will involve practical measures such as fitting and operating fire hoses, increased radar searches at night, including using a small yacht radar astern, laying out additional lighting, razor wire, doubling the watch, closing off all access points to the ship, monitoring radio traffic in the immediate area, and setting up agreed procedures for sending out details of an attack to shipping and shore authorities, or distress signals during an attack.
Piratenattacke auf.
The ship's protective plan should include a variety of measures to be put into effect when a ship is likely to be boarded by armed pirates. These may involve sealing all entry points to the ship's accommodation, cargo and engine room, checking that all crew members are inside safe areas, such as the bridge,
Ja, guten Abend. Wir haben Generalalarm gegeben, weil wir unter dem Eindruck stehen, dass uns Piraten überfallen wollen. Bitte Sie, Ruhe zu bewahren, die Umgebung zu beobachten, alles verschlossen zu halten. Wir lassen alles dicht, aber wir leisten keinen Widerstand.
and informing the shore authorities and nearby shipping that an attack is taking place. Immediate information should be sent to shipping in the area, the rescue coordinating centres, company's head office and the shore authorities. As soon as possible after the attack, the flag state, the IMO and the ISF should also be informed with as much detail as possible. Every incident of illegal entry is different. All provide some important lessons about protective measures for all masters, officers and crew. The common features which will apply in most cases are alertness and vigilance, observation of the unusual, reporting any suspicions, putting in place and practicing a set of protective measures for all possible illegal entries, whether in port, at anchor or at sea. Ultimate responsibility for the ship's safety and that of the officers and crew rests with the master. But it is the actual responsibility of everyone on board to ensure that they carry out all the safety measures in force at any given time or place, and that they do not do anything which may endanger the lives of anyone on board, including their own. No one is required to be a hero in the fight against crime. Only a combined effort by governments will eventually rid the shipping world of this dangerous curse. Combat crime at sea. Control and restrict unauthorised access to the ship in port, at anchor and whilst full away. Restrict the flow of information regarding sail times and destination. Fit additional lights and warning sirens at the stern, and set fire hoses ready for use when entering unsafe areas at night. Always warn nearby shipping and the security authorities of the nearest land states of an attack taking place. Inform as soon as possible after the attack all the relevant shipping organisations with as much detail of the attack as possible. Do not risk the safety of crew, passengers or ship.